Parents, welcome to the Teacher Parent Collaborative Series, episode number 2, Supporting New Teachers, Supporting Our Parent Teachers. My name's Tanya Ordinola. I'm your digital ambassador for 2021-2022. And this is brought to you by the Nevada Digital Learning Collaborative through the Nevada Department of Education. So like I said before, I'm your digital ambassador. My name is Tanya Ordinola. This is my second episode. I've been teaching at CCSD for 14 years. This is my email if you'd like to contact me or you need help with anything digital learning. My email is tordinola@nvdlc@gmail.com. Every time throughout the episode that we broach on a new subject, you will see this bright yellow screen letting you know that we'll be talking about a new topic, and hopefully that will be helpful. The Teacher Parent Collaborative series series and goal has a motto, and the motto is to inspire and support digital learning parents. The videos and episodes we will offer are videos, expert panels, helpful digital learning tips. In addition, we will work together to support each other through a new digital way of learning. Through teamwork and collaboration, we will join forces to ensure our students' success. What would you do? What would you do if a building that you were creating, let's say of Legos, that you thought had a good foundation came crumbling down? I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. Digital learning, online learning, blended learning is new for all of us. And we've had a way that we've taught. As parents, you've had a way that you've helped your students. And we built on that. But now we have to start from the beginning. We thought we had a strong foundation, but now our Legos are falling all over the place. We have to go back to the lab and rethink, how can we help our students? How can we help our parents? And I'm thinking that the best way to move forward is that we start with a strong foundation, a new strong foundation, a digital learning foundation. Before I continue and before we get into what we are here for, which is supporting our new parent teachers, I'm going to be giving you a lot of resources and explaining different things to you that I hope will make you helping your student at home easier. But before that, I want to share with you, as this is my second episode, and if you see my first episode, you'll know that I teach kindergarten. And I said I would share stories with you because many people, when they hear that I teach kindergarten, they want to know stories about the classroom. And I wanted to share that one day, me and my class, this is before the pandemic, we went to the Nevada History Museum, and we were walking, and the guide said, "Oh, the next stop is Ghost Town." And the students huddled up near me and they were scared and they said, "Not Ghost Town." We don't want to go to ghost town. We're really scared. So that was like a cute story. Now let's carry on. So the key takeaways that you will have today are strong digital foundation that I'm going to try to lay out here. You'll have digital support keys. You'll have top advice to improve digital learning there at home. And then you'll have parent teacher support and digital reading resources. So let's carry on with strong foundation. A strong foundation is the key to creating long-term success. So today, what you will need is a notebook, an open mind, and also to set up some goals that you may want to use with your students at home, as you are now a new teacher. You're helping your students. We're guiding you, but you're there supporting and helping them. We want you to know, parents, that we hear you. We know it's been hard, and we know it's been a change from our normal school years. And it's been very different this year. There was an article I read in US News, and it says parents feel the strain as the pandemic adds a new role, the new role of teacher. Researchers analyzed data from over 3,300 US households in March and April 2021 to see how distance learning was affecting parents. And our new parent teachers said the following. They're concerned, they're worried, they want to know, are their students learning enough? They're worried, are they doing a good job? Are they challenging their students enough at home? They worry, is there any missing assignments, something that they're not reading or knowing, and they're worried because they feel like missing assignments may be piling up. They're worried if students are playing on their computer when they're supposed to be listening to online lessons. Are they on their phone? Are they on TikTok when they should be learning? So those are many concerns that new parent teachers have. Before we continue, I also want to let you know that the upcoming webinars episodes for February, which will be episode 3, is going to be family engagement, the trilogy, where we will have administration, teachers, and parents talking about digital learning and how we can come together to help our students. You can go to www.nvdigitallearning.org to look for any upcoming episodes. Again, it's brought to you by the Nevada Digital Learning Collaborative, brought to you by the Nevada Department of Education. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about strong foundation. Parents, a new foundation. We're going to talk about digital support keys that I'm hoping will help you feel supported and maybe give you a little peace of mind. We're also going to give you advice on how to improve digital learning. We're going to talk about key terms, scope and sequence, learning goals, reading resources. A strong learning foundation gives root to later learning as background knowledge. Learning foundations create connections for inquiry and growth. When students are encouraged and supported, they build a strong foundation for the future. So, the resources, the information that I'm going to be sharing today is there to help guide you and give you a strong foundation, a new foundation to build upon to support your digital learning needs. Now I'm going to share digital support keys. So the teaching digital support keys that I will share is that today's schools face significant challenges due to in-person and digital learning. Some schools are teaching digital learning. Some schools are teaching blended learning. Some students are at home. Some students are in person. All the changes are happening in response to the pandemic, and we are geared now and focused on technology-based education. In today's school systems, teachers and parents are being asked to support their students with their learning more than ever before. It's a new learning experience for all of us. We all need support, and the following are support keys for you, our new parent teachers. One thing that I want to discuss with you is curriculum. For students who are learning remotely or online, it's called a digital curriculum. I want to go over with you scope and sequence and learning goals. So those are the terms that I want to share with you that, like I said, I hope that after hearing this will help you feel stronger, will help you have peace of mind in supporting your students. Online curriculums are online portals that provide students and teachers tools to improve the delivery of digital lessons and learning resources. An online curriculum allows students to access their learning materials conveniently at any location. The student doesn't need to be in a specific location. For example, they can be at grandma's, they can be at their aunt's home with different family members supporting them, and they're able to access their online curriculum. One thing that I want to remind you is that it's important to remember that online curriculums require reliable technology and internet. What is a good online curriculum? A good online curriculum is fun and it keeps students motivated. Students are captured by fun lessons and challenges that improve their learning every day. There's a variety of different online curriculums. I talked about it in episode 1. We have McGraw-Hill. We have Envisions. We have different curriculums that the school district is able, and the individual school is able to get either free or their paid services. And those are the guides to teachers, where we get what we're going to teach from the lessons. For example, in math, it could be introduction to numbers. Then it can be teaching students about adding, subtraction, measurement. It's a guide, and it gives a book that teachers are able to teach from. And the beauty of the online curriculum is that our online students can access all the lessons and all the great things that we're teaching in person online. Scope and sequence. A scope is a range of content to be taught to a specific grade level, and it's addressed by the curriculum. The sequence is the order in which the content is taught as learning supports different level of development. So the first part is having the online curriculum or the curriculum, which is books and guides that we're going to be using in that specific grade level. And the beauty about a scope and sequence, and a reason that I wanted to share this terminology with you, is because if the teacher doesn't offer it, you can request it so you know what are we going to be learning and what order are things going to go in. Is there a way that I can help prepare my student because I feel they need more help? Is there a way that I can help advance my student because I feel that what we're learning at the moment isn't enough and they need to be challenged? So this is like a great reference tool that tells you exactly what is going to be, what are the lessons that we're going to be learning in the classroom? What are the dates that we plan that are our goals to teach those lessons? And what sequence are we going to be teaching all of this in? To give you a little more detail about scope and sequence, the purpose of a scope and sequence is to provide students and parents an insight of lessons for the school year. A scope and sequence, it's a form of curriculum mapping that helps guide a student's education. And the reason that this is such a great resource and tool is because it provides a guideline to the topics that are going to be taught in the course. It helps parents determine which level is best for their child. And like I said, if they're not able to pick a level, but if you feel your student needs more support, you'll be able to know what they need to review and what you can support them with before the lesson. And if your student needs more enrichment, it helps you move forward. It also helps provide a chronological order of topics to be taught and discussed during the year, so you can feel confident. Oh, in January, we're going to start doing beginning level reading because we know our alphabet, we know our sounds, we know our CVC words. Discuss learning goals. An educational learning goal describes a student's skill and competencies that the student will need to master through the course of study. In the beginning of the school year, the learning goals are general and geared to all students as a guide of the learning expectations. As the school year moves along, the learning goals are more of an individual action plan on how the student will demonstrate their knowledge and skill at the course completion. So first we start together saying, in September, we're going to learn these 5 concepts. By December, we will learn these additional concepts, and this can be geared to any grade level. And once we move on to January, the teacher might give you an individual guideline to tell you what your student needs to work on, or what are some goals or things they'll need to accomplish before the completion of the course. So those 3 terms, curriculum, online curriculum, scope and sequence, and learning goals, are three great key terms that you can write down or that you can ask support from your teacher. And they're great because since you're our new parent teachers at home, having these resources will give you a guide to help support your student and start a strong foundation for digital learning. Now we move forward with top advice to improve digital learning for parents. The digital learning advice that you will get from this short video I created from you is learning space, the importance of learning space, golden rules, meaningful learning, and positivity every day. Even though we're learning online and we're not in the classroom, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't experience a positive learning environment and experience every day. Welcome, parent teachers, to my top advice to improve digital learning for parents. Like I've told you many times, you are now our counterparts. You are now our teacher helpers, and we need to give you the tools that you need to be successful. So here we go. Top digital learning advice is number one, learning space, golden rules, meaningful learning, and positivity every day. It took me a bit to narrow these down to 4 because I wanted to give you what I try to do in the classroom, have a fun, inviting classroom. And by doing so, because I teach blended learning, meaning that I have the students in class and the online students, I want to promote a good, clear learning space where students can focus and see things that are going to help them to actively learn their numbers, their alphabet. Golden rules. We need to have rules and teach the kids that there's rules everywhere. And even though that they're online, they still have to follow guidelines and rules from the teacher. And hopefully you're thinking of possibly sending your student back at some time. So it'd be good that they know that there is classroom rules. Meaningful learning. I try to make sure that when I give lessons, they're meaningful. I ask a lot of questions. When the students come up with the answers, I want to ask them questions as well, just to know where their frame of thought was. Sometimes when you are together in a group, there might be someone who gives your student an idea that they didn't have in learning to help them have better background knowledge of the subject. So it's always good to share and talk. And even though the students are online, we do ask, some of them to participate, here and there. But when the class is over, if you would want to go over with your students, say, what was the subject? What did you learn? What did you think about it? Those are all good questions that helps prep their prior knowledge of whatever was taught, and then helps them to continually actively learn. And that's one of the things that I like to have happen in the classroom. And positivity every day. I try to be as positive as I can with all the students. I want them to have a positive learning environment where the student feels like we're a team. This is my coach. It's okay if I make mistakes. And I tell my students making mistakes is so awesome because it lets us learn new things and guide our frame of thought and thinking to something new and to clarify whatever misconception that we had. So, positivity every day where a student feels encouraged and not afraid because it helps student know that making mistakes is okay. So let's carry on. Digital learning space. And what I want to advise you is to choose a location based on your child's likes and needs. Some students like to study in a quiet learning environment. Some students like background noise and knowing that they are around people or their parents or siblings. Remember to minimize distractions and have all learning supplies available. The goal would be for just for them to have a comfortable learning environment. And then we're back here, learning space. And a fun tip is to decorate your student space with their artwork or things that they're working on in class. That's always inspiring to the student. You know, they can feel like they're personalizing their space with something that they've learned. Maybe they learned about a certain animal. We've been learning about animals in our club: cheetahs, chimpanzees, crabs, camels, and we've had a lot of fun. So any pictures or work that you can put up, I'm sure will make your students stay. Is if the space that the student is using is multi-purpose, meaning that they're just using it then, but after that, you turn that space into something else. A good idea would be to have just a basket where you can put out their supplies and then put them back in when the space gets used for something else, just so they have something to hang on to and know, like, in my basket, I have my pencils, I have my crayons, I have my notebooks, I have everything I need. Because if it's a multi-purpose space and just other things get cluttered, it's not conducive for a good learning space. And you have that in order, you can, and I'll talk to you about it in the next slide, but you can start a schedule with your student since you have everything already set up. And the schedule can include like their breaks, lunchtime, and physical activities, and then the courses that they're taking. So we like to have a schedule so we don't miss things. Students, it would be good for students at any grade level to know that they have a schedule that they can look at and can guide them through their learning day. And next is golden rules. So, like I was telling you beforehand, it's important for students to know that there's rules. There's rules in the classroom, there's rules in the community, and more than likely there's rules there at their home. So go over with your student and teachers digital rules. Make sure that your student understands the rules. If they understand, they can explain it to you. Go over the rules with them, and then you can tell them, can you tell me the rules and explain them to me? And consequences together too, and make sure that you have your students buy-in. For example, as teachers, some of the rules are stay muted, unmute, be respectful to other students. But at home, you can have rules that support the classroom rules. And what can those rules be? Those rules could be, for example, stay focused throughout your class time. It can also be go ahead and it's okay if you stand up from your chair for a bit, but you still need to be in focus with the camera and you still need to be actively learning. Also, you can come up with some consequences. They don't follow those rules that you guys have come up with together, then, there can be some consequence that you and the student have come up with. Some other rules that you can also address is be dressed for school. Since I've told you that I teach a blended learning class, my students are dressed for school, and then sometimes my online students are not. So the student can feel as they're part of the classroom and can feel like, they're serious about learning, they should be dressed for school. Also, they need to try to be on time, be prepared with their items, right? A good space that they can be in, that shouldn't be a problem. Do not drink or eat while the lessons are going on. Make sure that that's scheduled somewhere and pay attention. And the main thing is just be respectful of our learning classroom and that we're all trying to learn and that they should raise their hand. Meaningful learning, meaningful parental involvement has an impact on student achievement. School-related discussions are beneficial. Find out what your student loves to learn and support them. That's what it is in a nutshell. Meaningful learning. Meaningful learning is encouraging the student to understand, not memorize, but understand what they're learning and also offer them support. Also, this is one main thing that I work on in my classroom is make sure that the students are actively learning. If they have a question, I have them look in the classroom. We have alphabet charts, number charts, all sorts of charts that they actively look for that answer, that they're sharing what they're not understanding and that we can fill in those gaps of the misconception that they may have. So you want your student to be actively learning. Don't just give your student the answer. Talk to them about it, have them actively look for the answer, and then if they've done all that in camp, then you can go ahead and re-explain or give them the answer. Make sure your student is focusing on the learning process outcome. End of all the lessons, we always have students share or do a worksheet that goes with the lesson. So your student is on track if they can accomplish that. If they can't, then it's time to go back to what the topic of the lesson was and do a quick review. And also relating new information to prior knowledge, the way that I like to start my lessons is if we learned something the day prior, I make sure to ask little key questions about what we learned before every day so the learning can keep building and they can have prior knowledge in many subjects. Positivity every day. We need to think of ways to help our students be positive as much as we can. Every day it's helpful to the students' learning days. Catch your student doing something right online. Maybe a couple of times you've caught them, they're not focused. Maybe they're trying to sneak into, a play website. But when you see them focused and interested, catch them doing that right. I try to catch my students in the class doing things right. Even online, I try to highlight those students and I call their names and I say, thank you for actively listening. Thank you for participating. Positivity helps so much. Praise the students after a full day of digital school or when they finish a hard assignment. Just give as much praise as you can. Just as much as you do that, try to find things that you can praise your student on. Positivity. There was a research on the subject of math, and the researchers do an MRI were trying to see what students' brain activities was during math, and the results suggested that links between positive attitude and retrieval from memory results in better problem solving and higher performance. So like we said before, it's not only memorization, it's being positive, feeling confident about the subject that also helps students be able just to solve different types of problems. Having a positive attitude acts directly to your memory and learning systems. If you have a strong interest and our self-perceived ability in math and you're positive, then you have a more efficient engagement and brain solving capabilities. So that's something really good to keep in mind. It's great just to think like, I want to be a positive teacher, I want to be a positive parent, I want to be a positive student. But when there's research that backs up that it's going to help your student, it makes it all the more important. And some additional advice to you to help you through your teaching journey is autonomy, giving students after the lesson. Was there any subject that you liked learning on? Yes, I loved learning about crabs. Do you want us to read a little more about crabs? Would you like to draw some crabs? Can we go to the pet shop and look at some crabs? Give students their on a schedule the whole day and giving them autonomy to choose something that they may want enrichment on is solid gold. Then the next is enrichment. I try to give my students, I carve in some time to give them enrichment throughout the day. I start thinking like, what is something that they need more focus on or help on? And then when enrichment time comes, I try to come up with a lesson that supports that learning and make it fun, so they feel like, this is so fun, but we're learning too. Digital fun, you can include some digital fun after class or when they have breaks. You can look for brain breaks online. What I do as my digital fun is we do a dance, and I have the dance correlate to the lesson. So for example, if we're learning about sharks, we might do the baby shark dance. And if we're learning about dinosaurs, there's a song called Dinosaur Stomp, and the students really enjoy it. I tell the students, online students, in-person students, please stand. We're going to be doing some dancing, and they really like it. And let the student be creative. Sometimes we want students to be so inside the lines, but if they show some creativity, supported, again, it's something very important to support creativity. And then it gives students self-assurance that they can think of things as well and that they don't have to follow the straight black and white. And sometimes I get assignments and they're not as I've requested them to be, but if the main learning goal was hit, I will send like a personal note to that digital student saying, I really loved your way of thinking. I really loved your digital drawing or the drawing that you sent me or the project that you finished. So those are some things that you can do. That is my top advice for you, our parent teachers. Thank you very much. All right, parents. Now we're at the new parent teacher reading resources. So far we've gone over 3 terms that I think will be very helpful. We have gone over also digital support keys and how you can improve digital learning at home. And now we have the new parent teacher reading resources. What can we do to improve reading, as reading for students that are kinder through 5th grade is very vital and important. As you know, students have mandated state tests that happen about 3 times a year. A lot of them are geared and are supported by reading. What are some reading resources? Parent teacher reading resources. Now we're here at the portion where I'm going to give you some new parent-teacher reading digital tips that you can use at home to support your student. The reading resources that we'll be discussing, number one is moving forward and assessing your student. Encourage literacy habits with your student. Reading resources and specialists, and advocate for students, your student at home, or if you have various students at home. First, before you assess your student and see if they need extra support, if they're in their correct reading level, the most important advice that I would give a new parent-teacher would be to find out what your students love and incorporate that in your reading material or book selections. For example, a student who loves football may be encouraged to read books on football or may want to even read the newspaper. Try to incorporate things that students like and are interested in, and that will be the cornerstone to you helping your student read. If you have books at home on things that they love, or you can check out books in the library, all of those steps will be conducive to help support your student's reading growth. Assess your student. Now, when you come to the part to assess your student, try to use past report cards, past notes from teachers. You could even go as far as sending an email to your teacher and asking them for an update, and using report cards, notes, test scores, and the response from your teacher will give you an idea of where your student is at. If you feel that your student is at level, then that's good. You can continue doing what you're doing. If you feel that your student is above their reading level, you can continue to push them to read different level books. If they're in level 1, they can go to level 2 or 3, and you can just keep challenging them. Now, if you feel that your student has had a change in the progression of reading that they were doing, then it's good to bring out the tools that I spoke about before: grades, test scores, report cards, note from teacher, and start thinking of what you can do. Number one, you can reach out to your teacher and say, I don't feel that my student is catching on. I feel that they're falling behind. Is there any teacher assessment you can give me? Or are there any suggestions you can give me to help improve my students' reading? As teachers, we have a myriad of resources. We have extra worksheets. We see the student day in and day out, so we have an idea of where they're at and what they can do to improve. Sometimes things as little as your student's vision or hearing can be something that you can look into that can be holding them back. And also your teacher if they are falling behind, can help put some intervention services in place. Encourage literacy habits. Family reading time is vital. Encourage students to read and visit the library. Students that struggle with reading benefit from daily reading as part of their growth and reading progression. It's also been said that if students see you reading at home, it inspires them to read as well. Encourage literacy habits. Good encouragement is reaching out to resources like libraries, borrowing books from the classroom. You can ask the teacher if there's some books that are at the level that your student's at that can be sent home for you to read with your students. Sometimes when you are helping at home as a new teacher, right, digital teacher at home, you'll know that if you partner with your teacher and your student is reading a certain book, when they're done, you can email your teacher about the book that they are done reading, and the teacher can talk to the student and congratulate them on reading at home, and also ask them questions about the book, and have the student summarize the book. Sometimes students like sharing their successes with their teacher, and that helps encourage good literacy habits. Reading resources and specialists. First, I'm going to focus on reading resources. Some great digital reading resources that I can suggest that I like to use in the classroom myself is starfall.com. There is a paid version, but they do share a free version that you can just go in, and they have about maybe 20 books or less for free that you can use, and other free resources. And they're very vital for students that are from first to second, even possibly third grade. Another great digital resource is MobyMax, and MobyMax is free to teachers, I believe to parents too, and if not, you can ask your teacher if they can help get an account for your student. And with MobyMax, what I like is that it's very similar to the digital tests that the students take throughout the year. It's great enrichment because it starts off a little harder. It's not as easy. So it would be good for students maybe from third to fifth grade. So pretty much kinder to 5. So those would be 2 good resources that you can use. And now I'm going to focus on the specialist or reading specialist. Every school has a reading specialist, and they can provide interventions for struggling students that are having a difficult time with reading. Sometimes these reading specialists have supports programs there at school. Sometimes it's tutoring before class or after class. And having your student meet with a reading specialist, especially if you think that they're falling behind, is good because it's another resource. You can have your teacher's perspective on your students' reading, and then you can also have the reading specialist give you their perspective on your students' reading, and it's just more support for your student. Like they say, it takes a village, right? to support every student, especially in reading, as it is core to your students' education. Advocate for students. Schools have programs for students that are struggling with reading. Like I mentioned before, there's tutoring help, and depends on your school. Sometimes before school or after school. Sometimes they have programs that they can give you, which is which has codes to different reading books that help your students build, background on reading, and helps them with their reading that the school offers as well. So that is a good resource to follow up with. And now I want to tell you also about community resources for reading, which would be your library. You can go to your library, you can check out, a myriad of books that your students can enjoy. They also have some learning toys that can be checked out, and they also offer free tutoring for students there at the library. So if you feel that your teacher is giving you support, you're trying to support your student in reading at home, and you still don't feel after assessing them that they're at the level they need to be, or they're falling behind, you can also access free tutoring at the library, and that is a great resource too. And lastly, I wish you happy reading, and I hope that these resources and ideas help you, and they help you know that, the first thing in helping students to read is knowing what they love to read. The second thing is assessing them, so you're helping them improve their reading or support their reading. Are they on level? Do you feel they need more enrichment? Or do you feel that they need support from the teachers and reading specialists, or that they would benefit from tutoring? The next thing is to advocate for your student. So if you see them falling behind, reach out to teachers. Know that we're here to help you, even if it's digital learning, online learning, blended learning. We're here to support you. You let us know what help you need, and we have resources, we have extra worksheets, we have ideas for you. And so just reaching out to us, advocating for your student, is a good step in supporting their reading. Questions that we've talked about with teachers throughout the district. How can parents help their students prepare for a successful digital school year? Another question: what advice would you give parents to improve their students' digital engagement? And this is some advice from teachers in our Nevada school district that were so kind to answer these questions, so I can share the answers with you. And maybe this can also be a building block for our new strong foundation of digital learning, parent support, to you as our new parent teacher. Now we're at the last portion of our webinar. This is the response to the questions that we posed at the beginning. This is advice from teachers who have been in the district for many years, and they're masters in their craft of teaching. They share advice kindly with us on how students can have a successful school year. First is Miss Mills. She holds a master's degree in special education. She shares, parents of younger students can work with them at home to help them learn how to log into Google Classroom and other online platforms the school uses so that they are prepared to do so independently in class. She also shares, parents can make sure students are checking their emails, to-do lists, and missing assignments daily. Parents can sign up for Google Classroom to receive emails regarding the students' work. Ms. Stella O shares 3 important tips. A, establish routines. Students should know the time to log in and when assignments are due. Routines are also helpful to avoid burnout. Using a timer to ensure that the student has time outdoors or away from technology is helpful as well. B, establish guidelines. Make sure your students know that they should be engaged during class and not surf websites while in class. Parents should check in regularly while students are online and communicate with the teacher to ensure students are engaged in class. C, establish expectations. Communicate with students what they are expected to complete based on assignments and teacher syllabus. Provide a reward system for students so they can work for something that they like or want. And lastly, we have Ms. Mcnulty and Ms. Harper. Ms. Mcnulty shares, parents can help their students prepare for a successful digital school year by having step-by-step instruction with pictures on how to navigate all the programs we use in class. Creating a learning environment similar to school is ideal. Daily structured activities like bedtime, wake-up time, getting dressed, lunch, recess, homework, and free time would all be examples of school-like environments. Next, we have Ms. Harper. Establish a routine in order to help the students stay on track. I would also suggest setting up a learning corner that is free of any distractions, which I believe would help them feel like they have a classroom type environment. Also, I believe that parents should encourage the students to participate in class discussions and activities. This will help them pay attention and stay engaged. Ms. Harper. So I wanted to thank you. Please reach out to me with any questions or if you need any help related to digital learning. My email is tordinola.nvdlc@gmail.com. Thank you. I hope some sections or all the sections are helpful to you to help you with your journey at home with your student and supporting them in every way that you can. Video disclaimer.